Hello, this is Gerald Jovermaas. The previous studies that were done about letters, if they had any meaning at all, they didn't come to real conclusions because why? Basically, because they didn't look for a method how you could see how how these letters influence each other, how they actually form a puzzle that still makes up actually a meaningfulness. I figured out how this works, that the meaningfulness is not just random, but it's really based upon certain positions that we recognize. And because of these positions, the more you understand these positions, the also more you understand how they hang together and express actually the right position in how we recognize the sound, as it is also corresponding to a visualization of the same process with a position that will get certain qualities because of this. The method is resumed here at the right, where you have 9 letters in space into one point of orientation. When you need really 2 points of orientation as a comparison, as a movement towards them from one position to another, you need time process for it. There's another 9 letters that are associated from these positions. And then you also have another 9 positions where there are letters associated within a range that goes beyond the 1, 2 positions, meaning that they do not have a very clear fixed point of focus in space. They do not have a very clear fixed position of direction. So it is like a general influence. I'm not going too deep into that now, but you need actually a visualization process that you understand where does it come from and why does it have meaningfulness in the first place. And that's why I need to make so many videos, and I hope they have a certain level of educational comprehensibility, which is still difficult for me to be able to have videos that are accessible enough so that everybody can understand quickly enough, and also will be able to accept also, because of course there will be skepticism, and first you have to experience what I'm saying. Once you experience it, then you can start to figure out it yourself, but then you have to have a certain openness to this theory as well. Just I hope you have that minimum of openness. So I now and then I repeat the full theory with a slightly different angle, so that you can get used to the logic that forms itself into an automated system of adaptation towards these positions, how we actually also will be able, will tend to follow this also unconsciously. So just in the same way as we adapt as movement in space, we also have adaptations to directions that are given in time, or even to general influences around us, in the same way as the letters show these positions which we have to deal with. And in the previous 3 videos I explained the first row here from this theory, which has also a numerical basis and a geometrical basis. And the first 3 letters are all in a numerical sense, in the Pythagorean order of letters, about letters that focus around just one center, trying to center a focus. I also figured it out. It's like tuning in. It's like tuning in into these not just frequencies. It's also tuning in into these focuses that become meaningful, just like notes are meaningful. The A is becoming 1, the T is 1, and K is a bit more than 1. It's detaching itself from 1. So A is like discovering 1. The foundation of the first number is 1. So that's the ATK focus already. We try to figure out what we can define as a starting point in A. We have a real starting point that is practical in T, and we no longer have something that we can still define. Oh, is this really a good idea still continue in this way. And by repeating itself, like you have that with frequencies as well, if you hear them a bit longer, it's not just one moment and you immediately grasp it. No, it has you give it some time, like with the the A itself. You have a bit time to adapt to, like, okay, this is our main focus. The A is our main focus. We give it some time to develop, although the focus is derived to what I say in space. You can already define it in one position. You can already define it, although it is going towards it. It's almost like sharpening your vision towards it. And by repetition, it also shows itself what kind of qualities it will have when we use this element. So the element of A, you see, it's not entirely in the middle, it's going towards the middle, and if you continue to do so, you still already have something to work with. And you can continue to use this. You use this as a starting point, and that's the essence of A, basically. Yes, I am still discovering what it is, but I have already something to work with. That's basically the idea that is automatically associated with that first letter. And then or even when you repeat it, you will also use that as a repetition. Well, if it is a good idea or it's not a good idea, that doesn't matter. You have something to work with. You have something to start from. And then you have this adaptation. And you see already, like the full picture is actually the dark brown and then the lighter color as well. That's the full picture. It's trying to focus upon it. But that trying to is not perfectly okay yet. So you're just trying it with the A. You're still trying it. You're still almost there. You're almost in the real middle of the full thing, but you take the most practical middle for you. That's the darker part. That's the most practical. So and that's the thing for me. That's the thing to work with. That's the thing that I'm discovering. But as you see already, if I put like some vibrations over it, it's not perfectly regular. That's like because I have to adapt to my regularity, while the full reality is a bit bigger. So I have to adapt actually, and that's also the A. I have to adapt. I have no choice because it's not perfectly in the middle. I'm going towards the middle. I still have to adapt. All these elements are automatically associated. Also for the words that you use with A, that is the behavior that will be automatically obliged for you to follow simply because of its position. So I hope you understand that principle, because that's the basis of all these letters, why they are meaningful. So in that way, there's a forced adaptation, as you can see in these vibrations. It's all, this is an illustration, of course, but that's basically what it is. This illustrates very well if you repeat that form also. You'll see that you have, if you look at all the details, you see that there's no other choice. If I want to repeat it, there will be somewhat a forced adaptation that if I want to continue with the full picture what I have, because basically I only have, let's say, 2/3 of the picture I already know and 1/3 I don't know, but if I want to continue with this 2/3, there is that adaptation to it. I stubbornly repeat the basics, the foundations, the starting points again and again, but I slightly force myself into it as well, because there's a small part that is I'm not dealing with it yet, or I don't know it yet, but it's workable, it's doable as a foundation. That's the letter A. It's one of these qualities which go automatically, simply because of the forming itself, the centering position within a range that is only yet almost 2/3 there, but not entirely there. And that's basically the first letter. So once I adapt to the full picture, of course, then I also have somewhere that relative state of position where I also have my starting point in which I have also adapted a little bit to it as well, and that's already the second position. So the first position, the starting point, I decide my middle point, my center point, and I repeat that. But as you saw already from the beginning, that I already dealt almost prematurely, because this is the second stage. The letter T is about that. Prematurely, I already adapted because I want to be practical. If I want to be practical, I have to have a certain relative state of my opinion of what I know. And there's something that, because the real middle point within all the things that are there is slightly off of that as well. And that's where I adapt to, actually. So my orientation to sharpen better, like, okay, how does it work better, is already engaging the next step, which is the full sharp vision. Okay, I came from a little bit at the left, I go a little bit more to the middle part, the real middle point, the number one itself, the real definition of what the things are, and the things sharpen even more. And that sharpening is then that my own middle point, which was a little bit off, will go indeed also more to the real middle point as it is. And that contradiction of where I started from my own opinion to where the starting point really is then decided by these differences which, okay, you can't see it very well without the vibrations there. But with the vibrations there, you saw already I had an adaptation. And basically my vibrations that I went of the continuation are a little bit off, but I know until where, compared to the real reality, how far they are from it, and where I can see the reality. My full picture of what I can see from reality becomes clear, and I have this state of realization, what I can see. And what is real for me, and what is indeed focused upon the real middle point. Even with my limited vision upon it, I know what I can see and what I can sharpen my vision onto. From here, I can go even more towards that what I cannot see, that relative state of what I cannot see. I can also deal with that because I'm not complete yet, but at least in the second position, it is only about, yes, I'm sure that there is a part, with my viewpoint, my starting point, there's a part that I can see. I'm sure about that. But if I go towards also that part that is left out then, and I focus also on, I also deal with that. I'm not entirely focusing on it, but when I also deal with that, then I come to that even more to that realization that I have a relative state. I started a relative state. I see certain things sharpen, clear, and so on, but other things actually I do not see. I didn't see. I cannot follow in this from this reality at all. And that's the letter K that gives that relative state of orientation. Once you realize that, you also know what you know and what you do not know. And that's important. That's one of these three phases of discovering a middle point vision of what do I have here before me. It already has three relative states. A relative state of trying to figure out, focusing your sharpening your vision, and I realize that what you can sharpen upon is just a part of an ability. Certain points will not be seen from that end. I repeat myself just a little bit. So with three distinctions in one, what are these? The stage one, the A, where you decide immediately where, and very quickly, actually also almost immediately, yes, I have a centering point of focus. It's a good starting point of focus. I'll repeat it and I will repeat to use it. And then I can use it also use it as a repetition, I will simply do that. Stage 2 is then that once you start to repeat it, you also had a form of adaptation. You also saw, okay, I saw some differences, whatever differences these were. You see already the background. There are some differences. I have a certain distance. There's a certain, in a very quick way, I have to adapt it slightly so that I can keep my focus and my vibration that in the background of where I'm tuning into, let's say, in tune, so that I have it in tune in from what I can see. At least I can get in tune into something of the reality, and that's the limited range I have. Then I get my vibration right, that vibration vibrates with what I can see, that with that limited range from what I can see, and from there I can define the things with it, because these things will be real. But of course, this is then what you do. You have a certain adaptation. You have this sound which focuses you a little bit more consciously. Okay, I go towards a point that I can see, where I can vibrate with, what I can. Okay, that's already on the next level. Where I can actually correspond to that. I'm sure that I see what I see. It is clear enough. And I adapt to it also, in this case not immediately like in A, but with a certain ability in the now, each moment. I adapt, I quickly adapt to what I have, quickly enough so that I can continue with it towards the future, starting from now. And even though I know that I might not have the full picture, I focus upon what I know. But of course, this in the third stage, if you continue to use this, the realization that you do not know everything and that you're just using a part of reality should be acquainted with as well. And this is the third stage. A first stage, T second stage. The K is then the third stage, where this unknown factor will become dominant, and you see, okay, I still don't have everything. I still have to deal with it. All of the focuses are still focused upon that one point, but here that one point becomes completely relative. Actually, yes, I have something, but do I have it? Is that good enough to see the full picture? From that point onwards, it's not clear. It has to have some openness towards that point anyhow. You see, the point where I'm looking at actually is relative, and it doesn't count for the full picture. So my ability is limited to see the full picture. That's the letter K. So the starting point of 1 is A, where I have something, or 1 is T, where I actually also could start to balance the 1 out, is the letter K. Comparable actually also to the three directions in the X, A, Y, Z arrows that you use with your orientation. The horizontal line, the vertical line, and the diagonal line are used exactly in the same way as these 3 positions, in the way how we orientate ourselves with these 3 positions. In all kinds of association that you can make with it, these work practically in the same way as I added here certain consequences of these 3 stages. The next one will be then the letter U. On the next level, it will be about letters that deal with 2 focuses. So what you need actually, you already know that there are 3 focuses. And just imagine that, okay, let's deal with these 2 focuses. Let's deal with these differences. And you know, that third focus where you saw the second focus, it was an unknown factor. It's the factor of that what I do not no with a K as well, written with a K. But let's start anew. U starts anew, as you see. It still has that starting point where I start from, and I want to start anew, but now by looking at two things. It's that also at the level of the number 2. I'm going to figure out how to deal with number 2. It's a bit less than 2 U. L is certainly 2, and B is a bit more, or as a relative state of 2 is one of the other angles that you can see it or can remember it. But no, I start again from what I have, from the focuses that I have, that I know, that like you have that in A, but I will make it a relative state. This relative state comes after my last realization in K. If I build up the logic, this realization that I have a center that I follow, and there is a center that sees the full picture, and both of them do not fully correspond, so there's a yin and yang disbalance there, and I want to deal with it. I deal with it, and that's exactly what I will do in the center of my recentering focus of U. You will focus around the center where I have, yes, I have it, I know I do not have, or this is not it, and this is it, as a developing state towards it, just by knowing that I'm dealing with it. I'm dealing with that unknown. It's the relative state of number 1, and it goes towards a number 2. The second developing stage is where it will show how I develop towards that. What you already said, I adapted to it in the L, which still is on the same level as the T, but now I will show what I will develop to, how much material I will do there. The second level is always like, how do I do that? Not just in a centering position, but how does the form adapt actually? I see already how the form adapts. This form, so usually in the L, translates with this form. It's actually also this adaptation in the form. That's the realization which happens there. Well, the last letter, the B, is that adaptation in increasing your form, in what I still need in form. Can I reach it? Can I even adapt it so that there is already a change visible? Or what is the change? What is still there that is more than what I have already in that case? It's a concluding state which also shows everything which will finalize it, will increase itself actually from based against what I started from in the first place. Also there it is already more than just the adaptation to what I do not know. I might even get to know it from here onwards. So basically these are the 3 eyes of the focuses into one center, horizontal, vertical, diagonal, and it already shows you what's happening there. And instead of just continuing with my own starting point, the adaptation process and what happens there is even more important. So I'm focusing upon 2 things, not just my center, but also like, okay, how can I adapt with that center towards the whole thing that I'm able to see, or I'm trying to see, or I'm going to I'm developing to be able to see it, and by looking a bit better into the details of the material. I follow up each material and I see which parts are adapting. U, L, B, these are the parts, and these are the focuses of following up of what is adapting. Basically just not just another angle. I didn't go too deep in it, but it's good to see these things from a different angle, remember these a little bit, and that if you do, you will also be able to realize better why letters are used in a certain way, and also associated in a certain way, that they become meaningful. They are always meaningful. It's not always easy to figure out what it's really pointing at, because the individual letters are not just the only thing that matters. It's the combining the letters, and how to combine it is not expressed here, but it's good to have the individual letters positions already in your mind before also seeing how the big puzzles are really behaving themselves by influencing each other with its qualities based upon these positions and positions that adapt further towards each other. You can figure out its logic, you can learn its logic, and by knowing this logic, this automatic thing that it simply fits will become even more, because we also adapt better and understand better how this adaptation process not just limits ourselves but also gives us abilities how to solve solutions that can use words as hints for it how to do so. Okay, thanks again for watching. Bye.